welcome back to Man Across New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as you've seen what's going on on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, while we'll be vibing and we'll be relaxing, and I'll be keeping an eye on my Discord, because I am trying to help a friend right now with some Excel stuff. He, I think I mentioned it like here and there, he's doing some like analysis on like linguistical things. I'm not going to really delve into it all too much, obviously, because it's his own personal work or whatever. But of course, he doesn't use Excel as all that often, but I am rather experienced in Excel, so I'm just sort of trying to help him out, but he hasn't replied to my message. I don't know, he's probably out busy doing something. We'll see how it goes. So hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 3:41 PM on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. So I apologise if I just randomly pause, because I need to respond to a message. Maybe I won't even pause, depending on how difficult the question is. But it'll be fine. I mean, like, Microsoft Excel, it's it's one of those things. Because, I talked about my IT lessons before in secondary school, and I'm not talking about primary school. Primary school, like, IT lessons were, like, almost non-existent. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't think I really learned anything in primary school IT lessons, because I used to use a computer quite a lot anyway when I was younger. So I'm quite sort of used to it in the first place. But in secondary school, we had IT lessons, and I talked about it before. In year 7, for whatever reason, we had our IT lessons in French and proceeded to learn absolutely nothing. In year 8 and 9, we started to have it in English again, but it was weird at our school, because we didn't always have IT lessons. It was sort of like on a rotation with like PSHE, which is like I don't know what is it, personal social health education. So it would be things like it would be talking about like drugs and like not using them, or like staying safe. It'll be talking about like social things like mental health, etc., which is cool, but it's like, why is that in rotation with IT? I feel like we should be their own separate subjects. They're both very important subjects in my opinion. Probably could have given up like one maths lesson a week or something for it. I don't know, just to give them both their own time slot. But oh well. And I mean, I'm not really the one working out the UK curriculum, so it's not really my place to judge. But yeah, I didn't really have many sort of like lessons in IT and Excel when I was growing up or anything. And if anything, I'm gonna be honest, Excel, like, as someone who like is looking who knows about like some data analyst stuff and all that good stuff, Excel, you'd be surprised at how like much Excel turns up everywhere. While people will like to be like, oh, loves to use Python to do like complicated data wrangling, that sort of thing, or SQL to manage databases and whatnot. Yeah, those tools definitely are better at the job, I would say. Or you might do like R or MATLAB, I suppose, if you're more into academia sort of things, because of their like built-in packages. They're much better at the job that they do, because they are faster and very much more efficient. Oh, hello. I've got a response, and let's wait for him to finish typing out. I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on. Before we get over here, I want to clear out my flooring first. I want to clear out all the flowers first, sell them before we go to Harv's Island, because we need to go to Harv's Island before we go to Nook's Island, not Nook's Island, Captain's Island, because you might get the chance of that buff or whatever, which allows something cool to happen, and I can't really remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so like, I can't remember. I think it's around GCSE time where we probably got like actual proper IT lessons, kind of, in my secondary school. Where we got things like learning to use Microsoft Excel, learning to use Microsoft Access, and I still sort of vaguely remember it, because we had it. Actually, I think it was year 9 onwards. Because in year 9 we had one teacher. He was like a big bloke. I'm not gonna lie. He had like a sort of interesting balance between sort of like intimidation, but also very knowledgeable on the subject as well, which makes it sort of like a weird mix. But you can tell he's a very capable person in IT. It's a shame he didn't like teach us more things in IT. But oh my god, it's finally the bow. We've finally got the ribbons. We can finally purchase and wear this orange ribbon, which we've been hunting this entire time. So now we finally match that pink and orange aesthetic that we're going for. I'll buy the pink one as well while I'm here, which is kind of ironic, because I've been thinking about like slightly shifting it to like a red and orange or pink and red sort of thematic. I don't really know. But pink and orange is a very nice colour combination. Anyway, these colours land somewhere there: red, pink, and orange. In some order, red, pink, orange, and white. Generally, I don't really know. I haven't really decided all that much, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. But yeah. He taught us in Excel ages ago. I remember that's when I first learned how to use like if statements in Excel and conditional formatting. And you probably wouldn't be surprised to know that like I absorbed that information like a sponge. I took it up incredibly quickly. But I remember that he set us to work, and I did the work like really quickly, and he was like, "Oh, okay," and then I ended up having to, like, whenever he wanted to do demonstrations in class of what he was talking about, instead of having him sitting at the computer and then having like to type out the equation and then go up to the board and then like point out the board or whatever and do whatever, he would just have me sit at the computer and be like, okay, so we're going to put an if statement here, and he'd be like, can you put in a if statement being like, if it's greater than 50 or whatever, and then, you know, I'd be the one typing out the computer, so he could stand at the board and break down exactly how the equations went. It didn't happen all the time. I certainly remember happening for the if statement one, because I remember that's like when I learned about order parity, because I had no programming language experience beforehand, no programming experience whatsoever. My first programming experience, I think, came after that, like GCSE, like year 11 or year 10 or something, where I learned a bit of JavaScript. But that was basically my first exposure to programming and all that sort of good things. I was like, wow, man, if statements are so cool, they're so useful. Of course, you may want to do something conditionally based on another sort of category, and we learned about conditional formatting. Like conditional formatting if statements, if that's all you know how to use in Excel, you will basically be able to do almost anything for your daily life. Like almost all daily life stuff will be covered using just if statements and conditional formatting. If you actually want to work in any sort of like data wrangling or managing things, you should probably at least learn pivot tables and VLOOKUP, I would say. And then you probably be like, oh, VLOOKUP kind of sucks, you know, it kind of sucks. You had to go like left to right, and you know, you had to specify the index of a column, so you can't even change like the data set. That's when you use something called match index. You should look that up. Way better than VLOOKUP. I'm just going to point that out right now. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. I remember my Excel lessons, I'm not going to say with a sense of fondness, but, you know, I guess I kind of liked it, you know. Probably sort of a sort of spark was just like, ooh, you know, data's very interesting. Look how easy I can summarize all this information. So we did some stuff in Excel. We didn't really do that much. I remember, because it's an unfortunate thing about IT lessons that rather than getting into any sort of depth, especially when you find something interesting, you kind of have to cover like a wide breadth of different things. So we played around with different things like Microsoft Word and probably PowerPoint at one point, Access, basically all the Microsoft tools. And how often do people remember the information that we learned from it? I don't really know, but if I'm going to say anything, you should definitely learn, if you want to do anything, well, even in general, like most jobs, knowing how to use Microsoft Word and knowing how to use Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint, probably the only thing you really need, I'm going to be honest. I mean, there's others, like there's Microsoft Access, which, I mean, that's like case basis. If you know how to use Microsoft Excel, you'll probably be able to learn how to use Microsoft Office. Not Office, sorry, Access. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Let's just sell all this stuff so I don't have to manage it. Yeah. But I remember also in GCSE time, we had like this, and when it was actually in rotation with PSHE as well, we had a lesson with another teacher. She was like a business studies teacher, I think, but she also taught IT. She was actually very sweet, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I remember doing IT lessons with her, and I remember one of the things we had to do was one of the projects we had to do was make a salary. It was, wait, no, hold on. We had to make like a database of like employees and something, and the salary they got, and things like their salary, etc., and basically add all these other features. And I remember she did teach us some features. She taught us again conditional formatting and if statements, and she didn't teach us VLOOKUP, you know. I would say that much. It's just a shame, like we didn't really get taught all that much, but she taught us how to use macros in Microsoft Excel, which is something which I like never end up using, but I guess it's kind of cool. The thing I have a problem with macros is they're quite finicky in the end, and they're also kind of slow, but I understand the use of them. And I remember what we had to do is, we had to make employees so like a made-up business, and it was really like open-ended is what I remember, which is, you know, kind of good in the sense that, you know, having open-ended allows like the production of like creativity and exercising kids exercising things in that, right? But the problem with it is that, you know, a lot of us were just like sort of using Microsoft Excel for the first time. We don't know how to run a business. We don't know what's going to go on in like an employee's tables or whatever. We don't know what sort of information goes in there. So the fact it was so open-ended, it was sort of like, I feel like she sort of set us goals, being like, hey, try and see if you can get this stuff working. Like, try and get in like a button to work out like Christmas bonuses, or try and get a button to automatically find, you know, who are the top earners or something when your employees or whatnot. But I remember doing it and I remember it for literally no apparent reason, because apart from the fact that we had to choose like a business name for our company or whatever, and I chose Sugar Cube Corner. And those of you who watch My Little Pony Friendship is Magic at the time might be like, hey, that's a bakery in My Little Pony, and that was indeed a bakery in My Little Pony. And when I remember my friend asking me, be like, oh, Sugar Cube Corner, that's a cool like name. Where'd you get that name from? And I was like, you should Google it. And when he Googled it, and he was like, oh, it's My Little Pony. I don't know why that comes to mind. It's not even an amusing memory or anything. It just sort of comes to mind when we did that. I also remember him, like, it was an IT lesson. So, of course, what all the kids are doing is they're trying to do the work as fast as possible so they can play, like, games on Miniclip or something afterwards. So I remember he just, like, did the basic work or whatever, get, like, conditional formatting, get some sums set up, I can't remember. And he was like, oh, teacher, I'm done, or whatever, can I go, like, play games? And I remember, oh, hello. Discord, oh, that's my phone Discord message. Maybe that's the sign I need to reply to his message. Let me know how it goes. Oh, come on, mate. Skip through his message. Use something else. Okay, there we go, there's my reply. Yeah, and I remember the teacher sort of like going off on him, not like in an incredibly harsh way or something, and being like, you can't move on and you start playing games. Like, have you managed to add this? Have you tried to add this? Have you tried to add this? You know, she was like just like tearing them apart, but in a very nice way, about the fact that his Excel database, I suppose, was quite lackluster and didn't have many features. And to be fair, that's kind of true. And just, you know, if our old friend, who I haven't spoken to for probably over a decade now, is watching this video, Excel database sucked, I'm going to be honest. I don't think mine was much better, I'm going to be honest. No, of course, nowadays I can actually use Excel pretty well. And I use it to, of course, keep track of data. You know, and that's unsurprising, you know, keep track of, like commissions, I suppose. Keep track of other things. You know, the most useful thing, which you can use Excel for, is to work out how much people owe each other. When you go out and like you go out to eat food or whatnot, and then like some people pay for something, some people pay for other things. Working out who owes what is one of the best things, because I remember like I went on a trip with like how many of us were there? Like 9 of us or something went around Europe after a sixth form, like after we did our A-levels, just for, you know, fun. Why not? Like, why else would we do it? I'm going to be perfectly honest. But we just travelled, like, sort of, like, all around Europe. It was a really good time. And I was the one in charge of sorting out the money. But, you know, I didn't bring, like, a laptop or anything, which, in retrospect, I don't know why I would, but it would certainly been useful to at least, like, use my phone, like, Google Sheets to actually work out all how much people owed things. So I remember, I basically did everything by hand. I remember, like, I sort of, like, made notes of who paid what. I'd had like not a spreadsheet, but I had like a spider web sort of like diagram sort of thing, where I wrote everyone's names around in a circle and like arrows going towards each other, being like who owes who what, because they paid for this, they paid for that, they paid for that, or whatever. And it was just a huge absolute nightmare of a thing, because you draw one arrow to one person, one arrow to the next person, and it's like, okay, that can cancel out by erasing that arrows and just drawing that arrow, skipping over that middle person or whatever value is counted, but only if it completely cancels out. And it was basically like I sat there doing it for like half an hour every single day just to make sure I kept track of basically how much money was owed by each person. And to be fair, it was quite convenient. It was a good thing I did it every single day, because otherwise it would have piled up like a huge amount. But nowadays it's sort of just like, oh, you know, we'll let things accumulate over like a couple of months or whatever, then I'll just sort of sit down with receipts, put it all into an Excel spreadsheet, which I've already made like templates for, and then it's easily done. And it happened like one recent time when I met up with quite a few of my friends, and, you know, I made an Excel spreadsheet to work out money, because Excel spreadsheets are just kind of way to go. Like, I know there's other apps which can do it, but the other apps, you know, you kind of enter things manually. I just know I'm just comfortable with Excel, which is ends up why I'm like using it a lot of the time. But I'm actually really happy with one I did, because it had a front-facing page where it was just like, oh, you know, because it was really complicated, because it was like 12 or 13 different sort of people, and everyone paid for different amounts of things, and everyone like needed to pay for different amounts of things, but sometimes not everyone needed to pay for something if someone else paid for it, so it's not like you can easily distribute other things. So I had a front facing page which showed you exactly who needed to pay what to who, and then I had a back facing page where you could like enter in the details. You could basically put in you know, put in your records of things which were owed, put in like whether you needed to pay for it, whether you didn't need to pay for it, whether you've already paid for it, and you know, the spreadsheet would automatically take that into account. And, you know, conditional formatting just to show exactly what's going on as well. It was fantastic, I think. And I think it was quite helpful, hopefully. I don't know. So, I don't know, you know, while I do like creative and analytical pursuits, like in quite sort of like equal tandem, part of me just like gets so much joy from being able to sort of like organize things like that. Just being able to sort of neatly, I suppose, summarize and compact things and down together. Something about it sort of like tickles my fancy. Did we go to Halves Island? Oh, we did go to Halves Island. Look, our inventory's all empty. So I don't know. I suppose the long and short of it is like hopefully someone in your friend group is someone, you know, who likes to do that sort of accountancy business. It's not really accountancy. Accountancy is a lot more like writing up data reports, I'm going to be honest. But who likes doing that sort of accountant, like data management, working out the finances sort of thing. Because I like doing it's useful to have someone in your friend group to do that for you. And to be honest, we have probably quite a few people in our friend group who like to do that in very different ways. It's just I'm the one who does it when I'm in bed, I suppose, because, you know, I don't know how. I just kind of like doing it, I'm going to be honest. Other people like doing other things. Some people like, you know, if you're like booking a holiday, some people like actually booking the holidays and events and that sort of thing. Some people like to work out itinerary. I'm much more of an itinerary person rather than the sort of like booking flights and accommodation. I'm like, mess me with flights and accommodation. Someone else can do that. I want to figure out what we're doing. Or I want to like figure out what we're doing on the day, etc., and I want to work out the costs of, you know, who owes what at the end. You know, that's all my sort of thing. And, you know, I'm sure you sort of like fall into the roles of your friend group as you sort of get used to it. You know, you get comfortable with each other. You know, unless you're literally all the same person, you probably find what you like doing and see the ways you can contribute. You know, some people, maybe they don't contribute as much in the planning, but they make things exciting and they make things fun. And maybe that could be you. I don't know. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to judge you, I suppose, for that. But anyway, Microsoft Excel. Sorry, got kind of like sidetrack. So yeah, I don't know. If you're looking to do stuff in jobs with Microsoft Excel, especially like healthcare, because in healthcare, like data jobs, like all healthcare systems are like use Microsoft Excel or something instead of something like SQL or like any other sort of data system. I don't know why. I don't work in healthcare, so I literally have no clue. But you should get pretty proficient, I'd say, at Microsoft Excel if that's, you know, what you're interested in. Here are the top 3 things you absolutely need to know when you're learning Excel. 1, how to do an if statement. 2, how to do a pivot table. And 3, how to do VLOOKUP. Probably in that order as well. And then if you're like, oh, I want to do some like fancier things, if you're creating like data reports, like dashboards and all sort of things like that, probably want to learn, well, maybe you want to learn Power BI, I suppose, but or Tableau. I've never used Tableau actually. I've only used Power BI a couple of times. You do those. You learn how to do conditional formatting. You learn how to, well, pivot tables are important, but you know how to make charts, and you're good. You know, thumbs up. Dashboards in Excel, easy, but I hate doing them because, you know, it's just like, it's so laggy, things in Excel. You know, Excel's not very good at holding huge amounts of data. SQL, wow, done in a flash. Need to filter things, need to just transform your data or whatever, you know, window functions, SQL, bam, done. Lovely. Love it. Python, it's okay. It takes a bit longer, certainly, once the data starts getting pretty big, but it's not bad, you know, all things considered. And you can do, in fact, you're working in Python alone means that you can do a lot more cool, interesting, and crazy things. But SQL is the king of the hill, I suppose, when it comes to data management. And Excel is just like, I mean, its big benefit with Excel is that fact that most people know how to use Excel, or at least can understand Excel very quickly and very easily. A lot of people don't know SQL, which is fair. Like, it's not really sort of like in their purview. So yeah, I don't know. Good interview answer, I suppose, for you right there. You know, what's good about SQL and Excel? SQL, super fast, awesome. Excel, very accessible for lots of different people, especially for lots of different people with different abilities working on the same sort of data set. Excel, thumbs up. Yeah, so I don't know. But I'm going to be honest, Microsoft Excel is one of those things that you learn in IT, which is actually really super useful in your day-to-day life for basically everyone, I would say. A lot of things in IT are certainly very useful to learn, don't get me wrong, you know, like shell and bash commands and whatever, like scripts in general. If everybody knew them, that would be pretty cool and it would make your life a lot easier. But like, a lot of people can probably get by without like needing to know how to program or like do any complicated scripts or how to use a command line. Like, Excel is just useful for a load of different things because everyone needs to manage finances to a certain degree, right? And Excel's just literally one of the easiest ways to do that. And just the fact it's got like a built-in interface to actually, a visual interface to actually interact with is probably one of the biggest things. It's the thing they don't tell you about programming. Like, I remember when I first wanted to try learning programming when I was younger, I was like, I know people talk about Python, I'm going to try and learn Python. But like, back then at least, I didn't even know what to look up to like learn how to learn Python in the first place. And the fact that there's not many things with a visual feedback in the first place, it made it very confusing back in the day when I was like trying to even understand what I was doing. Probably should have just like taken a programming class or something and probably set things up quite easy for me, but I didn't. I don't know why. So it wasn't until much later when I started learning JavaScript with Code Academy, which, this is where you probably go, you shouldn't learn with Code Academy. Okay, no, you shouldn't learn advanced concepts of Code Academy. You can learn basic syntax of Code Academy, and I think Code Academy does a fine introduction to the basics of programming. And that's because it's something, it's really accessibly easy to understand, like, what programming conceptually is. It doesn't do a good job of explaining to you how to, like, actually apply it to real life. Like, it's a common thing, like, after you do Code Academy, it's like, okay, I know how to, like, have a syntax and how things work in this language. I know sort of how to program, but I don't understand how I actually use this. That doesn't do a good job, but from there, once you've got the actual basics, it's a lot easier to actually, I don't know why I put it down, it's a lot easier to sort of seek out the information you need to actually start applying it to real life, so, I'm going to vouch for Code Academy, at least a little bit. It's a good starting off point for when you have literally nothing to work with, I think. But yeah, anyway, I learned JavaScript with that. How did I learn Python? Automate the boring stuff. That's how I learned Python. How did I learn SQL? I don't actually know how to learn what my first thing I SQL. It was some online course. Well, it wasn't something like, it was some like online resource. I'm not going to call it a course because it wasn't like a Udemy course, like automate boring stuff sort of thing was. I don't know, I just think self-taught it. How did I learn R? Learned that in university. Took some lessons on that. How to learn MATLAB? Also learned that at university, but didn't really take lessons on that. I just had to learn that. But MATLAB's easy. It's fine, just working with vectors and arrays. I don't really know what else to say. Microsoft Excel. Well, what other cool things do you do in Excel? I mean, Excel actually has quite a lot of cool things, but a lot of them you don't really need as a sort of like a basic user, I suppose, right? Spreadsheet stuff. You programming. What's a programming language for Excel? Visual Basic or something? I don't really remember. You got like Power Query and that sort of stuff. I don't really remember how to use Power Query, I'm going to be perfectly honest off the top of my head, but it's a thing. I don't know. Conditional formatting is just like, is great as well. Like, even though I know how to manage like data sets or stuff like in SQL and Python and whatnot, I still use Excel for a lot of like simple things. Things like such a dumb thing to say, but like my shiny colours, like when I'm planning out like a strategy and the stuff and then team building and that sort of thing, I just use Excel. It's just easier, visual interfaces are just like more intuitive to work with, at least personally for me, because I'm much more of a visual person, I think. Maybe that's why, I don't really know. Anyway, if you want to learn Microsoft Excel, you should. There's a really good series, I can't remember what it's called. I might still have it saved somewhere, because I followed it a little bit to learn some stuff about Excel, and then I was kind of like, I actually kind of know most of the stuff. Where is it? What have I saved it as? It's a really good like person. He did stuff on Excel. Hold on, what? He's got like a whole series about how to learn a bit. Oh, maybe it's in my bookmarks. Programming Excel. Is this it? Is this it? Yes, I think this is it. Highline Excel by Excel is Fun. That's what the YouTube channel's called. Excel is Fun, Highline Excel class. Very, very useful for learning Excel. And even when I did like work experience, I used Excel on like a little bit. It was like for like an insurance company, and did a bit of a accountancy. Used Excel to make like, well, it's actually more just like peruse with data. It wasn't most like, I'm not gonna say it was the most thrilling thing in the world. Make data reports, client reconciliation, no, premium reconciliation. I don't remember. But yeah, I know Microsoft Excel. It's just everywhere. Everyone uses Excel. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about Microsoft Excel. You might be like, I can't use Microsoft Excel because I can't purchase it. It's kind of expensive. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I don't really have like anything I can really say in defense. Like maybe if you're a student, you can have like a student license that might be a lot cheaper. I don't really know. If you work with a company, maybe the company will buy it for you. If you, I don't know. I don't really know how expensive Microsoft Excel even is. But anyway, you got Google Sheets, which is honestly like in some ways Microsoft Excel but better. Not in all ways. Like obviously you can't do any like super complicated things, but the fact you have access to it with your cloud stuff all the time is amazing. I mean, it's what I used to store the data for when I made that card game. One of my friends ages ago. Buy now Microsoft Excel for home or for business. Switch to United Kingdom. Oh, it's on subscription now, £60 per year. What on earth? And then for business. God, I hate the subscription model for software nowadays, especially whenever like Adobe did it. Oh man, $16.60 a month. Back in the day, you could purchase CS5. What was it, like £300 or something, or £1,000 maybe? I can't remember. It was pretty expensive, but you were just like, whoa, that's crazy. But at least you have it for life. Now you gotta like have a damn subscription model and everything, and it's just like, ah. I know you make more money with it this way, so I can't fault you from a business perspective actually doing it, but it just feels bad as a consumer. Oh well, what can you really do? You got Google Sheets now anyway, so the fact that you have access to Google Sheets I think is pretty useful in the first place. So maybe it's not something to worry about anyone too much. But anyway, spreadsheet talk. Well, not the most interesting thing to talk about in the world. But there you go. I'm going to round off this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye for now.